I got shy all of a sudden.
Hard to say.
She's amazing.
Then I think the next project I did here was this band from Canada called Red Rider. And they had a huge hit that we cut right here called Lunatic Fringe. It's still kind of all over the airwaves. Yeah. But I remember what the drums were here in the live room, sort of in the back of the room, which is, it's funny, it's a spot that I never use anymore, but for whatever reasons, we had the drums in the back of the room, and I think maybe guitar amps in the piano booth or in the vocal booth here. And
that over there, though?
Yeah, right by the mic.
I've never seen anyone play in there in 4 years.
At the time, I was probably always thinking, get the drums where you have the longest throw, so the longest distance for the room mics. Yeah. So I remember putting them in the back of the room. And it's not like it's a big bombastic drum sound or anything, but I do remember, so my experience with consoles and sound, for the most part before I came here was really working at Cherokee, which had a Trident A-range console, which is pretty fat console. Doing the Red Rider stuff, we tracked it all here. Then we went to a little studio in the Valley that had a Trident TSM console. But I remember leaving here with the tracks and hearing them over there thinking like, wow, this stuff sounds really thick and powerful. And that was the custom built
the Bushnell
console. The Bushnell, that's right. That's what I was trying to think of the name. It was the old custom built Bushnell console
API.
with the API EQs in it. The monitor mixer was over on the side. But man, it sounded punchy and yeah, and it still holds up when I hear it on the radio today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, T-Bone Burnett bought that console.
That's right.
And obviously did a ton of amazing, tremendous work on it after I left here. But that's... I didn't realize that was one of the first things you did here.
Yeah, that was one of the first records I ever did, actually. It was probably the second or third album I ever engineered.
What was one of the first big records that you heard your sounds on the radio, or something that really just fueled you to kind of be like, this is awesome. I want to produce records for the rest of my life?
Well, I think the fuel is... The fuel, I think, is getting it right. I still don't feel like I've gotten it right. Hundreds of records later, I still feel like, I could have done that better. I could have got a better performance out of them. I could have got a better guitar sound, or the mix could have been better, or whatever. I don't really ever feel like I've made that perfect record. I don't know. Talking Heads or whatever, those albums that are timeless that I love and live by. I don't really feel like I've ever made one of those. Maybe, there's a song on a record that I think that all fell into place and that just, turned out great. But an album top to bottom, 10 cuts with a singular vision and great performances and great mixes. I don't think I've got there yet.
Is that you though? Just your inner maybe insecurity, or just being so meticulous and an expert
I'm
where
sure
you never will feel that?
It's all those things, and that combined with perhaps whatever the artist doesn't like about the record. Artists are just like producers and engineers and musicians, they're all perfectionists, and they're looking for a certain thing in the album they do, and you try your best to get inside their head and decipher it and bring it out of them, but you don't always quite get there. And plus there's the factor that it certainly takes me 2 to 3 years to get away from a project, to have any sense of objectivity from it. So when I hear something like when I heard those early records I made on the radio, if I were in the car, I would click it off instantly. I couldn't stand to hear it. And I was always left with the feeling, you hear 2 seconds of it on the radio and you think, oh, no, it's not as loud as the song that was there before, or it doesn't have as much bottom end as the song that was just previously playing. Oh, no. And so that's the fuel. That's what keeps you going. You think, oh, God, the vocal was too loud, or all those things. I got to get it better.
Wow, I love that.
I got shy all of a sudden.